everyone, and thank you for joining our webinar. My name is Paula. I'm the BDM here at Baicells. Today's webinar topic is we're going to be discussing how to monetize your network with private LTE. Our speakers today are going to be Hannah Parker, Erik Randall, who are both with our Baicells team, along with our guest speaker, Mike Stroub with Mechcom. Hannah, I'll pass it along to you.
Yeah. Hi, everyone. Hannah Parker here. Most of you probably know me as Hannah Damzik, so don't let the new last name confuse you, but I am the sales director here for the tribal and service provider market at Baicells, and definitely appreciate all of you joining today.
My name is Erik Randall. I am the channel manager here at Baicells. I'll be talking throughout as well, and we'll go ahead and let Mike Stroub introduce himself too.
Good afternoon, everybody. Mike Stroub, Mechcom Communications, North Central Ohio. I kind of became a partner with these fine folks, and I enjoy what they have to do.
Perfect. All right, we can jump into it. Yep. All right. Well, again, thank you everyone for joining today. Of course, we do appreciate it. We are excited to talk to you all about Baicells, hopefully give you some new content and some new knowledge on, what else you can do with your network that is kind of beyond your typical fixed wireless deployments, and then explain, how that all ties into monetizing your network. Before jumping into that, just wanted to give a quick background on Baicells for anyone who might be new here or isn't super familiar with us. We were founded back in 2014. So we've been around for a little over 10 years now. We are a global company. We have deployed in over 70 countries now worldwide, and then in 6 out of 7 continents as well. But here in the U.S., we do have our own headquarters in Plano, Texas, along with a full team. We're kind of spread out throughout the country, but our main support team is based out of Madison, Wisconsin. And then I do want to note that we are 3GPP compliant. This is pretty important to remember, for this webinar and kind of what we're going to cover today. And then go ahead. Yep. So just a deeper look into what we have done here in the States. So we have over 700 commercial deployments here in the US, and at least one per state, which is pretty cool. This does cover all of our markets though. So of course we work very closely with, service providers, but we work with, any and all verticals around private LTE networks, for many different deployment applications as well. And I do want to mention a couple partners you see, one being Mechcom. I know Mike just introduced himself. You will hear from him a little bit later. And then as well as Taste of Madison. You might have heard of them before. They're one of our more kind of popular case studies, but we're going to take a dive into their deployment and kind of how they utilize private LTE in a little bit more of a unique way. You can go ahead, Erik. Yeah, and then lastly, just, really who we are at Baicells and what we are about here. So our mission here is to connect the unconnected. So we do this through innovative and economical wireless solutions. So we do offer a 4G and 5G solution. It can either be, a full turnkey solution from your core to your radio, to your CPEs, or it can be a la carte. So that is why I had mentioned earlier that we were 3GPP compliant. Basically just means we adhere to, your LTE standards. So we not only work with other LTE radios or CPEs or, third-party core, but we also work with LTE devices out there, that are compliant with CBRS as well. So we're going to go into those shortly, but just want to kind of, repeat that again, because that's the message that we're really trying to get across today. And then to wrap it up here, about Baicells is, we're kind of known for a plug-and-play system. I think anyone who has used LTE, knows it's not exactly simple, but we definitely do our best to kind of make it that way, and make it as user-friendly as possible. So just want to say, we're here to work with you all as partners. So if you're, new to LTE or interested in using it, or think you might have applications where, you think it might be good to deploy in, just know Baicells is about being your partner with you. And, we'll do everything that we can to make sure that you're successful as well. So that's all I have, kind of a background on Baicells. So I'm going to flip it to Erik. He's going to touch on, CBRS. I know there's been some recent changes to this with the CBRS 2.0. So he's going to talk about that. So Erik, I will turn it to you for now.
All right, perfect. Thank you, Hannah. So CBRS, the Citizens Band Radio Spectrum. the reason why CBRS was put into place is to help service providers to allow people, users, to have access to spectrum. And it kind of played nicely in where we started back in 2017 here in North America. We were deploying in this spectrum anyway, but not as LTE. So when it was LTE, but it was a different spectrum then. So when it switched over to CBRS, it actually gave more people the chance to utilize the spectrum, to utilize LTE. So CBRS has 3 different layers to it. It has the incumbent access, which is basically the federal government. They sit there, especially along the coast, and they have their spectrum sitting to the side. When they're not using it, it goes back to CBRS and allows everyone else to use it. Next, you have the priority access licenses. That was an auction done back in 2020 that sold off anywhere from 10 to 40 megahertz of spectrum throughout this tiered spectrum. The total amount of spectrum available in this band is 150 megahertz. So even if all of those were sold off, up to 70 megahertz, you were still left with 80 megahertz of general access. And the general access is what allows anyone to get on here. When you want to look at getting a PAL yourself and you realize that it's too late, we do have partners like Select Spectrum that we can get you in touch with, that you could lease spectrum from them, and then you'll have your licensed band. So also throughout this entire presentation, if you have any questions, feel free to ask them. Coming up toward, well, I think it's already been done, the CBRS 2.0. CBRS 2.0 takes on that CBRS and it makes it a little bit better. Before, with CBRS 1, there was 150 miles into the coast, where as the military, the federal government's taking back the spectrum, it's going 150 miles in. Now that's been significantly reduced, and it actually gives 72 million more people the opportunity to use CBRS. Another major change is the heartbeat. So with CBRS, every device has to talk back to the spectrum. And when it talks back, it's looking for, hey, can I push out my signal? Can I not? Can I push it out? And it was a regular heartbeat thing where it was, I think, every 1 to 2 minutes that it had to have that communication. That has been significantly increased to about 24 hours. So now there's less interruptions from CBRS on the SAS for each device, and you have a lot less of an area to worry about getting interrupted. All right, back to you, Hannah.
Oh no, you got
Oh, this is my part too. Yep. All right, so with LTE, what does a typical private network look like? Now, this is not LTE. This is just your typical private network. So think Tirana, think Cambia, Mimosa, Ubiquity. This is what it typically looks like. You have your DIA, your dedicated internet access coming in, the internet down at the bottom. It hits the network manager, or it hits each one of the towers. And then from there, it deploys that proprietary signal out to each house. Each house normally has an outdoor device communicating back to that tower. So everything along here is proprietary, but it all does go back. You are, limited to the type of devices you use, normally outdoor devices, and you're limited to what you can add and not add to a network. So let's take that private network, what we just saw, and now let's look at an LTE network, a Baicells LTE network. So now you have that DIA coming in just like before. You have it going out to the tower. And then from that tower, you're going out to devices more than just the houses. So you can use it as a fixed wireless with outdoor CPEs, customer premise equipment. You could use it as fixed wireless with indoor CPEs. You could use it with tablets, hotspot devices, cell phones. All of that can be used on this LTE network. And how we make it easy, how Baicells makes it easy, is we put our network manager, we put that special evolved packet core, which makes an LTE network and LTE, we put that in the cloud for easy access and easy management. I'm going to turn it over to Mike for a second and let him talk about his proprietary network that he has, and also why he started with Baicells and how it made it easier for him.
We basically run a Ubiquity network at this point. When I came into this back in the day, it was Transio slash Alvarion mixed network. We switched completely over to Ubiquity. We were using 900 megahertz to get through a lot of bush, a lot of different areas. Well, back in 2020, everybody knows Ubiquity quit doing 900 megahertz. I wasn't interested in spending the money on Cambium and stuff. I just kind of looked into it this route. I have another friend slash client down Southern Ohio who actually started with Baicells before me. I worked with his network a little bit. I seen the perks and I jumped on it. Most of my deployments to begin with as a testing phase was strictly campgrounds. That was where I really wanted to test this out. And from the results I've had after 2 years, I went ahead and bit the bullet this year, and we bought one of the 846s, and it replaced 3 different broadcasters I had in a campgrounds. I'm using one eNodeB, and it's covering an entire campgrounds that I never would have believed that it would cover. I think Erik's going to show pictures of that stuff after a while.
Perfect. Thank y'all both. Yeah, we can piggyback off that and talk about going beyond fixed wireless, what that really means. Give some examples of that so that you have a better understanding kind of what we're referring to. So the biggest and one of the most important factors with Baicells, since we are 3GPP compliant, is you're just able to do so much more with so many different devices like we both mentioned already. The reason for this is, since we follow those LTE standards, you can essentially, take a SIM card, pop it into a device that is LTE compliant as well. And there, as Erik has mentioned, thousands of devices out there. I mean, it ranges anything from cameras, IoT devices, tablets, phones, sensors, even something like we've worked with autonomous robots now, drones, really anything you could want or need, you can create a full network around this. So essentially, you don't need a CPE next to every device you want to connect to. Those devices will connect directly back to our radios. And then on top of that, you don't even have to be at a fixed location. You have the ability to roam and move throughout a coverage area. You can kind of think of it just as you would, with a carrier network using your cell phone. So this really makes for that, that full ecosystem. And again, you can do whatever you want kind of using, this technology. And then on top of that, private LTE is great for security. You cannot be hacked thanks to SIM authentication. Also, you're cutting down costs by using less equipment with being able to connect directly from devices to your main radio. And then, of course, this all kind of ties back into monetizing your network. You can have all the radios, all the devices you're using under one network, one management system, which again, just, keeps things simple for you, as the operator. Yeah. And then, I wanted to mention, in applications when you're competing against, Wi-Fi, private LTE is always going to win when it comes to, your latency, or, you can think of it as your, quote unquote lag time. So this is really crucial when you're wanting to, stream, have a constant connection, or have a lot of devices connected to one radio. Private LTE is great in that you can essentially control all these variables and have that full and total control of your network. So instead of, hoping for kind of a best case scenario like you do with Wi-Fi, you can be, very confident in your network when you go with private LTE. So all this to say, this is, really what we mean and what we're talking about when we say going beyond fixed wireless. And then you can see I mentioned some applications on this slide. So we are going to jump in and take a look at some of these and kind of take a look at actual deployments as well. So you can go ahead, Erik. So I know we've been talking about, using many other devices, but I did want to mention indoor CPEs. Wanted to mention these because they are, great because you don't have to mount these on anything. And then on top of that, they provide Wi-Fi out as well. So you can plot them, up next to a window, have your SIM card in that unit, plug your PoE in, and, you're ready to go. It really is, that simple and makes for such a quick install, with how small and easy these are to kind of move around. We see these units being used a lot in trailer park areas and campgrounds, in hospitalities like apartments, with with education, anywhere where it's tough to mount, an outdoor radio, or excuse me, an outdoor CPE on a roof or the side of a house. You just, again, take these, put these inside, like I said, a trailer or camper beside the window, and you're good to go. So I mentioned a few examples, but I want to turn it back over to Mike because I know he's utilizing these in his network, and I want him to talk about kind of how he is deploying these.
Basically, in the campgrounds, the way I had things started up originally, I had real close by broadcast locations to the actual campers, and I started doing the indoor equipment, indoor routers, because like Hannah said, it was easy. There was no external equipment to be mounted outside. In my situation, what I was doing is I was actually having the customers purchase the indoor router. I don't know how many other people are dealing with campgrounds and stuff like that, but I've had issues in the past with, mounting stuff on camper ladders and whatnot, and people just turn around, they leave the campgrounds, don't notify us, and they take off with our equipment. So then we were out of outdoor CPEs, outdoor equipment, and power supplies. It all adds up in the end. So that's kind of the way why I started doing that. As you can see in the pictures, that is shooting through some serious bush. Both those pictures are outdoor units. I really don't know what else to say.
That is okay. We appreciate it, and it's always good to look at a real life scenario and kind of speeds you're actually getting out on the field and everything. So we appreciate that, and that is good. We appreciate you as a partner as well, and joining and talking about this with us. So yeah, Erik, if you want to go ahead and move on then, or if you have anything else to add. Okay.
Nope.
Cool. All right, sounds good. So yeah, I didn't want to talk about our actual equipment too much, but I do want to mention our new 5G CPEs for a couple of reasons. So we have indoor and outdoor models. The indoor model is a little over half of the gain of our latest 4G indoor version, which is really nice to have that extra gain on those. But both the indoor and outdoor CPEs operate in 4G and 5G mode. So, if you wanted to start upgrading your networks to 5G, you could slowly roll it out and just start with end user devices instead of having to, swap your radios out on the tower as well. But the main thing I wanted to mention is how many different bands they operate in. So you can see here, both models kind of cover almost all of the carrier bands. So, if you did not want to set up your own private network, but needed an option for a user device to connect to a tower with a carrier radio, you would have to use their SIM card, but essentially, our unit would work with it. So it's a really great option for that. Now, the outdoor CPEs do have two different models. One is meant specifically for CBRS. It will be the NR11 version. And then the version that covers all of the carrier bands will be your NR6 model. The indoor unit, just one model, covers it all. So just, don't let that confuse you. But of course, if you have questions, definitely reach out to us on that. But okay, that is all for CPEs and our actual equipment that I wanted to mention, so we can move on and now talk about security and kind of the benefits of using private LTE for this case. So when we talk about private LTE, from a security standpoint, I think it kind of hits on all the topics, that we've been discussing. It's great to be able to pop a radio up, find a CBRS LTE camera, and avoid using CPE devices next to each camera. It's also great for scenarios that's not complete clear line of sight, so you don't have to worry about daisy chaining or figuring out how you can connect those cameras back to the network, and then still maintaining, a solid connection on top of that. Private LTE, it really does bring such a solid network that you don't have to worry about, the drop-offs or the lags like you do with using Wi-Fi at times. You can maintain that live stream that is so needed today. And then, of course, I know that I've mentioned it many of times, but I think anyone would say, they want a secure security system. And again, thanks to, that SIM authentication, your security network essentially is unable to be hacked. So, these are going to be your main benefits and reasons to use private LTE for a security application. But wanted to show this project we're currently working on and kind of give you an example and show you what we're talking about here.
Hey,
Okay.
Hannah, sorry to interrupt, but we do have one question so far.
Okay, yeah.
This is from Alex asking about the Nova 452. Is claimed to reach 60 kilometers, referring to the unboxed video from the Baicells channel. Is the 60 kilometers achieved in which deployment scenario and using which sector antenna?
All right, I'll take that one.
Yeah, go ahead, Erik.
So basically that 60 kilometers is farthest location. With the 452, it is a lower frequency. So that's going to be in band 41 at the 2.5 gigahertz. And also it's at 52 dB of power. So with that much power and at that frequency, you do have a longer distance than you would with your typical CBRS deployment. With CBRS, we don't like to talk about anything more than 7 to 10 miles. But when it comes to 2.5, you get into the higher elevations and you really can start pushing those distances 20, 30, 40 miles. Of course, the smaller the beam width on the antenna, the more power you're going to get out of it. So you could probably see, I would imagine, a 60-degree antenna being able to push that far out. But again, that's with band 41 and 2.5 gigahertz, which is a licensed band. All right, I'll turn it back over to you, Hannah.
Okay, cool. And Alex, if you need any more clarification, just let us know. All right, yeah, so for this project, it is a golf course, and we are using our Nova 442i. That's one of our outdoor 4G radios. It's an integrated 4x4 watt radio. What's nice about this is you don't need any kind of antenna or jumpers. It's nice and easy to deploy with just needing your PoE in and you're ready to go. But anyways, it's a golf course that has security cameras throughout the course. They're using one of our ecosystem partner cameras with Horizon powered. So again, we were able to, help them find a compatible camera to use. And this actually helped a lot because they're going to have little solar panels out there to power the cameras. So not needing to power CPEs as well was a great benefit for them. And then along with this, there were a few trees kind of blocking the line of sight. So that's really what, made them look into a CBRS option. And then once they learned about, all that private LTE could do, they were really excited to try this out. I think what's, fun about this one is they are not only looking to do this, but this portion of it is kind of their POC or their proof of concept for the course. And then they're looking to scale and using this network, for a few other applications as well. So one way they're going to implement it is they're looking at using sensors and timers to essentially water the grass. So they'll be connecting those devices back to the radio as well, and kind of running a smart course in a sense in that way. They talked about having smart carts as well, so being able to pop, an antenna, on top of the golf courts, and providing Wi-Fi to the golfers since it is in such a remote location in the mountains. That was an option they're looking into as well. And then possibly even going indoors and using it for their point of sale systems. So, all this to say, I think it's great for, of course, the security system and that portion of it, but it's nice to have the option to have that, again, full ecosystem and scale as you want, with what makes sense for you and your business. And again, all this, again, just ties back into monetizing your network, having it under one platform. Just makes it a great, deployment and keeps it simple for you, as an operator. So that's all I have on the security use case. Erik, I know you wanted to talk about Taste of Madison and Wi-Fi hotspots, so I'll turn it back to you.
Yeah, so piggybacking on monetizing your network, what else you can do? Every year, Labor Day weekend, Madison, Wisconsin packs itself full of people. We're talking about 250,000 people putting themselves in the capital for a 3-day event. A couple years ago was the 40th anniversary, and they were noticing an issue in years past that as the vendors were on the public cellular, your Verizon, your AT&T, the speeds were dropping and they were getting unreliable connections. So they wanted to do two things, because this was the height of COVID too, right after COVID. They wanted to find a touchless connection, and on top of that, they wanted to find a way of making sure that they had a reliable connection. So they got with one of our partners, and LTE is a really partner-driven ecosystem. You heard Hannah mention Horizon Powered, you heard me mention Select Spectrum, a lot of partnerships in doing this. So they got with one of our system integrators, and what they did is they put up 2 of our Nova 436s, and it was overlooking the entire Capitol. And what they did then is they handed out all the beer vendors these little MiFi hotspots. The MiFi hotspots would only connect to the Baicells network that they had out there. So 13 of these devices were out throughout, and they did not have a single problem whatsoever. Well, actually they had one problem, and the MiFis are battery, and of course batteries die 4 to 5 hours. So what they would do then is they would actually call our tech support. Again, we're right there in Madison, Wisconsin. So we would actually keep bringing out MiFi devices or batteries as they saw fit. The fun part for our tech support guys is they wouldn't come back to work because they were at a beer tent and they were getting free beer. But everybody was happy. The touchless payment went through without a problem. They invited us back for the following years. We do have this case study up on YouTube, and we do have a follow-up on YouTube as well. So you can see it over the course of the first year and then the subsequent year after that on how we did with this event. All right, so 4G, 5G, you hear the terms LTE, you hear the term private cellular network. It really means the same thing. So private LTE can be used as fixed wireless. You know, that's where a lot of people in North America know us. We're fixed wireless, but there's so much more. You could use this in event, security, logistics, RMV and campers. You could roam with us, have it fixed. You could go indoor, outdoor. One of my favorite lines is actually that we are a local area network that can be deployed in a wide area network with indoor and outdoor deployment roaming throughout. How many people can claim that other than other LTE vendors, that you can do it all with private LTE? So both 4G and 5G is now readily available for deployment. And then CBRS 1 and 2 has enabled easier, faster deployments for private LTE here in North America. All right, with that said, I'm going to do a quick shameless plug on how you can get started with private LTE, and that's with our outdoor starter kit. Starting at $2,000, you can get an outdoor eNode B, the Nova 430i. You can get an outdoor CPE, our OD15, a Snap PoE router, 10 SIMs, gold support, and 2 hours installation support to assist you as you need. So all of that can be had for $2,000, and that's more than enough to get you started. You know, with those 10 SIMs, you could toss it in your iPhones, your Samsung devices, some tablets, buy yourself a Horizon powered device, add it in there. So this truly is a great starter kit to get you going with private LTE.
Yeah, no, I think that's,
All right.
all we have. If you have any questions, we're here to support, you as the end user and operator, but, our partners as well. So my contact information is below. Feel free to copy that or write it down. And if you have any interest or have any more questions, you can put them in the chat. But if not, definitely give me a shout, and, we're happy to help in any way we can.
All right, and I do want to again thank Mike. If you guys have any questions for him about his deployment, any kind of issues he's had, now's a good time to ask. He can answer completely honesty. I am not paying him to be here.
Hey, Hannah, I have a question for you.
Yeah.
Is there a list or a place where you can find approved LTE Band 48 devices?
Yeah, there is. I know Erik has that link too. I can't remember Erik, what's the website called that has that list?
OnGo Alliance.
Oh, it's just on OnGo? Okay. Then
Yep.
Yep, you can go through there and find. But yeah, there's a full list, and then if you have a device you're interested in, you can type that in, and it'll either come up or not if it is approved or not.
Okay. And do you know if we need a core when using a device like a tablet, phone, or camera instead of a CP?
So in some applications you will. With any of our 5G networks you do. We do not have the integrated or embedded Halo B in that. So if you're trying to do something like, mobility and handovers from one radio to another, you would need it in those situations regardless. But if you're trying to just do, roaming and coverage area with 4G, you wouldn't need anything.
Okay, thank you. I think we have one more question. Let me check. Oh, okay. Just to comment that Jack Solutions has CBRS devices.
Okay, cool. That's good to know as well.
All right.
Sweet.
Again, thank you, everybody. Thank you,
Yeah.
Hannah. Thank you, Mike, especially Mike.
Oh, we got one more
Thank
question
you.
from Alex.
Oh, okay.
Is it possible to monetize by allowing users to top up using scratch cards? Also, can I qualify my service by MBs? Time exhausted, the user can be disconnected automatically.
That we would have to take that offline, Alex, but you can't do that with the Baicells core that we have, the cloud core, but that might be able to be done with other more specialized cores. So that's something where get a hold of one of us, Alex, and let's go through those options and maybe even introduce you to a couple of core vendors that might be able to do that for you. All right, if that's the last of the questions, I think we're just going to go ahead and end this here. If you guys have any other questions, feel free to reach out to Hannah or Baicells in general, and we can get you taken care of. All right, thank you, everybody.
Perfect. Thank you, everyone. We appreciate it.
Thank you, Eric. Thank you, Hannah.
Yep, thanks, Mike. We'll see y'all.